Ladies and gentlemen, as always, welcome back to the BB-Scho. I'm your host, Beebs. I'm joined by my co-host, Chen. We got a lot on the table today, talking divisional round recap, little championship Sunday preview. But before we get to all that, Chen, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, given the circumstances. A lot of snow here in the sunshine state of Wisconsin. Um, but no, in terms of just how the overall playoff has been going. Really, all the games have been good in terms of one of my upset picks of the week. But no, I guess we can kick it off. I believe the first game on Saturday was Jags Chiefs.
Yeah.
And this was a game that I watched pretty much start to finish. I was with family during the time, so you know how it is. Everybody sits around, watches the TV, and the whole Mahomes thing. Look, I'm hearing a lot of crazy things lately. I'm hearing one thing with the whole Brock Purdy case. Mahomes is just part of Andy Reid's system. He's not really that great. His arm talent's a bonus, yada yada yada.
Who's
And then you
saying
get the
that? Hold on. Where are you
oh
hearing
you
that?
you'd be dude. It takes one
Is this like,
bad
hold
Twitter
on,
post.
is this okay? It's on Twitter. It's not your family
Oh
saying it on
yeah.
the TV.
No, no, no. This was me just like chit chatting. It was like I'm checking the Twitter during the game, just halftime, and you got people. Well, and there's like actual like Nick Wright who says the best quarterbacks in the world. There's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and then Patrick Mahomes on one leg. And that's where I have to kind of start to draw a line. Funny, but he was serious about it, which was like,
Nick Wright,
okay,
he's one of the most hit or miss commentators I think is out there. He's either hitting like the nail on the head or he's way off in the other side of the planet, man. I
and
swear.
that might be the problem. I think at times I'll admit when I'm wrong, like Trey Young being an all-star, especially his percentages recently, I'm wrong. He wouldn't do
I
that.
haven't peeped his
He'd be like,
percentages recently.
he'd be like, oh, he's like not even 40% from the field. He's shooting 30%. Like that's
Okay.
actually 30%, not like in the 30s from three. Even though he's still averaging like 27, I guarantee you Nick Wright would be like, well, he's averaging 27 and 9.5 assists. He's basically a double double. Like he would try and die on that hill. And again with the Patrick Mahomes thing, you can't. Yes, he's great, and seeing greatness was fantastic. But you got to remember, Chad Henne led a 98-yard touchdown drive. All right, so
Yeah.
like that happened during that game, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying is like a default to Patrick Mahomes. I think it's both. I think if they go in and Mahomes is not 100% going against Joe Burrow and the way the Bengals have been playing, especially defensively, they're not going to win the game. But if he's playing how Patrick Mahomes plays, he is unbeatable.
Yeah.
Like that is,
I struggle to see, I wouldn't say he's unbeatable. I think Burrow is on, I mean, he's on another kind of heater right now that I really haven't seen in a long time.
my
But
it stops with that for me because the Chiefs took a step back while everybody else improved. And where are they right now?
yes, that's exactly
You
what I'm
know what
about
I
to
mean?
say. Is
Like,
here's the problem, and I don't see a lot of this anymore. But I used to see it a couple years back where people would try and like basically discredit Mahomes and say he's not the best quarterback in the world. And where I struggled when people would say, "Oh, he's a product of Andy Reid's system," is like, no, we saw a product of Andy Reid's system. That was Alex Smith. Then
yeah,
this guy, and they were good, man. They were a playoff contender. Like Alex Smith was in the MVP conversation. If we remember, like way back in like Tyreek's rookie year, he was in the MVP conversation. Like don't forget it. But
I
uh,
can't get it twisted.
they couldn't win playoff games. Then this guy shows up out of Texas Tech and elevates them to five straight. Well, is he been to
Five
five
straight
straight? Has he been to
AFC
five straight? Was Alex
championships.
Smith
Yeah.
one of them? I couldn't remember if Alex Smith was
I
one
believe it's this year now. It's five straight.
Okay,
I
so
think
five straight with
2018,
Mahomes.
19,
So
20,
yeah, so
21, and
since
22.
Mahomes took
Yeah.
over, he's never not been to the AFC Championship. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this is the Andy Reid system was coming, getting beat a 25-point deficit or 25-point lead against the Colts and Andrew Luck, right? Like that's the Andy Reid system. Andy Reid could that he was phenomenally or not phenomenally, but known across the league as one of the greatest coaches to never get it done in the Super Bowl, never win a Super Bowl. until he got Patrick Mahomes. And that's true,
Yeah,
man. That's
that
true.
is
That's
true.
what people said. And yeah, we don't need to spend much time debating that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback when he's healthy in the league.
No, not at all. I think it just needs to be like some what's the word? Not tempering expectations. Realistic realism, like living on Earth. Like yeah, okay. Like he needs
yeah,
two legs to be good. Like him on one leg's not better than the rest of the league. But in the flip, I to see these people come out, and I think it's just fun to hate on Mahomes for a lot of people, especially his wife doesn't help, his
yeah. I
brother
mean,
doesn't
I
help.
had more fun hating on him last year. Those two
Exactly.
have
People
seemed
love
to
to
have
do,
they've disappeared this year, and that's where I just give great respect to Mr. Patrick Mahomes because he there was clearly a conversation that was had. So
yeah, as there should be. As
yeah,
there should be, man.
Mahomes himself. I found him very likable for his entire career, honestly.
Yeah, that's what makes it weird when people just hate on him. But people don't hate on players that are good. It's only the players that are like great, and the
Yeah,
ones that are
that's a
like
fair
it's
analysis. That's
it's
fair.
always the guys that are crazy. But from the Jaguars' perspective, I mean, I know we're both. You definitely were on the train earlier than me. Um, they're gonna be good. Like this is
Yeah,
a team that has a whatever people want to say, they have a franchise quarterback. I understand, the questionable pick at the end there. And really like the Jamal Agnew fumble towards the end wasn't his fault. Like the Jaguars
questionable pick. That was an incredible play. Okay, let's
at the end,
we talking about the one-handed stab on the sideline by the DB.
I'm talking his last interception he threw. It was like lobbed up, like he had other places to go with the ball, aka like his check down that was right
Yeah,
next to him.
he only threw one pick. I don't know what we're this was when the Chiefs guy literally went up with one hand and caught the ball.
I don't think it was that great of a play,
Oh,
man. I think it was more
you're
it was a
remembering it
bad
wrong.
throw. It,
It was definitely
it,
underthrown, but it still was like
like,
he
and
should
kudos to
not
him for making the play,
he
but like,
should
I'm
yeah.
just ball shouldn't have been there. Should
Yeah,
have been
that's
hanging
fair.
up in the air.
That's fair. It's
Should have
fair.
been the check down, move on. But again, that's one mistake for a guy who's in his second year. On a lot of people would consider this a very bad team, especially going into the
Yeah, I mean
season, especially last
The
year.
Agnew fumble was much bigger
Absolutely.
turn
When
of
you're
events
right at
than
the goal line,
yeah.
that really just kind of cost him the game. And look, Zay Jones, I know that's interview's been kind of going around social media a lot. Kind of said it best, like they're fine. Like the future is bright.
Oh
No one
yeah,
expected this team to win a Super Bowl. The fact you were able to, we say keep it close with the Chiefs, they realistically could have pushed that to overtime. Watching that game, it was very real. And so from that, and considering I have the Chiefs as my Super Bowl pick right now, I got to give the Jaguars a lot of credit. I think they have
yeah.
something here. I think if they get rid of Doug Peterson anytime soon, which they shouldn't. I mean, if they have any brains,
They're not
you
gonna get
keep
rid of
Trevor
him.
Lawrence and
They're
Doug Peterson for the next 5 years. No matter
five.
how bad
I
one
would
or
have
two of
said
those.
10
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had stability since I can't even say
ever
Blake Bortles because that wasn't even
since like
stability.
the 90s when they were good right after their expansion draft.
Yeah. Mark Brunell and Tom Coughlin, Keenan McCardell.
exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
jeez. But no,
All right, I
it's
do have a question about you for you from the Jaguars perspective. Okay. Two things. First, let's start with this. A lot of people are talking about how the receiver free agency market this year is not good, and the draft is not good outside of Jackson Smith Ninjigba, however you say his name, right?
I've heard a lot of questions about him too.
Yes, there is no Jamar Chase. There is no Justin Jefferson. There is no Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. These guys, we've seen this class is down, and there's not a lot free agency. So I think even as good as it was this year, what are your thoughts on the Christian Kirk signing 2 years hindsight with the money that I think is going to go around to guys this year like Jacoby Myers and like some lower tier receivers who are about to get paid because they're all that's available.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
mark my words.
throw in the Calvin Ridley trade as well. So how do you feel about the Jaguars receiving room and the
Yeah, no, and
rebuilding?
I brought this up, in superlatives in terms of my Justin Forsett award, but underrated players that brought 1,000-yard season. Nobody talked about it. Like
Mhm.
the Jaguars haven't had that stability since maybe Justin Blackman for 5 games. Like it's been that long, and I just I have trouble or wrapping or like because I know it bothers me so much because I know if this went the other way, worst contract in the NFL, he'd get the Kenny Galladay treatment because he signed
Yeah.
for 4 years, 84 million. But in hindsight, if you have a number one receiver for 20 million next year, maybe 2 years from now, depending on how, the TV negotiations, salary cap, I don't know. I don't think that's a bad deal. I really don't. Christian Kirk
No.
is still
As
young.
long as he's
He's
actually
he's
producing.
hitting
I
his
mean,
prime.
look,
Right. Like right now, it
when you
looks like a
bring up
great deal.
When you bring up Kenny Galladay, the reality is we said it was overpaying at the time, but we kind of said the same thing we're saying now, except he fell off a cliff and
Like,
just
yeah,
ceased to
completely.
produce, right? Like based on what he got in Detroit, like the Giants overpaid maybe a little bit, but I was like, okay, it's going to be a decent fit. They need a guy,
Yeah, he's
and then
6'4" at
and then
wideout.
he
I
just
don't
fell off a
understand how
cliff.
you play bad.
Yeah, yeah,
It was like he was Kelvin Benjamin, like a Popeye's biscuit away from a tight end. And then Kelvin Benjamin actually became a tight end. Same with Funches. Like some of these bigger guys turned into it. It never happened to Galladay.
So
He just became bad.
yeah, I really don't know. Here's the follow up question though. Going into the offseason, the Jaguars are negative 22 mil in cap space. Do you
Mm,
think that they can they win in this championship window of Lawrence's rookie deal? Because three of the four teams left all have quarterbacks on rookie deals. You can go back even farther, and that's the window to
yeah,
win. That's when the Chiefs won, right? That's the window to win. It's hard to do it when you don't got a quarterback on a rookie deal. So, do you think that they can get there in the next 2 to 3 years with already
absolutely.
limited cap room?
Absolutely. Because there's ways to maneuver that. Um, Stafford wasn't on his rookie deal last year.
Yeah.
I believe, can't believe I'm blanking on who the
Honestly, this
year before
question,
that was,
when it
but
comes to the Jaguars, I feel like they spent a lot last year bringing in guys like Brandon Scherf, Christian Kirk, stuff like that. I think that they need Calvin Ridley, and that elevates them to another level. This question, and we'll get to it, really scares me more when we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals
mm,
because you still have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow on rookie deals.
yeah, I think Higgins is eventually going to go elsewhere. I
I
don't know if
have
it's
to agree.
necessarily anybody in the organization's fault or even T. Higgins' fault. I just don't know if there's gonna be enough money to go around.
Yeah,
Um,
unless it's Mixon that
it's
goes, or some even then somebody
oh
else. I
well,
think
and
I think that
it's
Higgins could get a massive deal. I mean, Higgins is better than Christian Kirk in my mind. Like, and look at what he got.
he's got
But
the talent. Yeah, he's big body receiver, still fast, still can catch. Even at the time, it was like the Bengals didn't need a receiver; they just took Jamar Chase because it's Burrow's teammate.
yeah,
But look, because even during this conversation, I've been like mentally doing, we're doing like the who we play for, like mentally browse. Like I'm mentally thinking on that Jaguars roster who you cut to clear 22 million.
there's not a lot,
And
man.
it's basically defensive players. So you strip down your defense and hope for the best.
And that's
Because
why I'm concerned. That's why
that
what I
is
was going
very
to.
concerning.
That's why I'm concerned because I don't think the defense was stellar this year. I don't think they were bad, but they were
Absolutely.
kind of middle of the road. And they're
Yeah.
going to need to find a way to just, I guess, draft really well defensively, right? I think they're loaded up on offense. You're going to have to draft really well on defense and hope you can find one or two stars to get you over the edge to take that next step defensively. Maybe it's a new hire at DC. Like maybe there's certain things that you can do that just elevate the way they're playing, like something like an
Sure.
Eagles
Sure.
style defensive this year, right? Or you bring in vets, you four guys get 15 sacks or whatever, right? Like just
Yeah.
manufacture a pass rush from 30-year-old men and get like six of them and pay them all like 7 mil. Like
I
uh,
think scheme fit and a lot of that is everything. And I'd agree with you, like the DC, you got to find the like a best collection of. You basically got to play Moneyball. As
yeah,
weird as it is, it's like
yeah.
Brandon Ingram. His defect is he's 34, but he still
Yeah.
gets you
It's just
12
like what
sacks.
concerns me about the Jaguars on the simplest level is they've yet to pay some of their biggest, well, Lawrence and ETN, but ETN's off. He's got 3 years of a running back. It's not concerning. Lawrence are
Mhm.
going to have to extend at some point. And that's going to be a massive contract. And you're already negative 20 mil behind the cap. And I can't really point to anybody that's like
Eating it.
allotting, eating that up besides the Kirk deal, which we said was probably good. Right. So when you look at
Yeah.
the Chiefs, it's like, oh, Mahomes is eating up a lot of their cap, but it's Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey's eating up a lot of their cap, but it's Travis Kelsey. And then you're playing
Mhm.
Moneyball with the rest of the roster. They don't have that.
It's
The guy
wild.
that's eating up their cap is Christian Kirk, who's not Jamar Chase, not Justin Jefferson, but he's solid, but $84 million for Christian Kirk. Like, and I know the cap's probably going to get bumped in the coming years too, bumped up in the coming years too, but it is a little concerning. I'll say that because they're
Yeah, I ain't
locked
gonna
this offseason. That's what I'll say.
right. And we can, move on to the next Saturday game. In terms of like analysis, because I know we're doing a lot of looking ahead, and we're going to do a lot of that, after the
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
Well,
But in terms of Christian Kirk, I don't want him to get pinned as like the money cow. You know what I mean? I think like Shaquille Griffin, I believe, is making a decent amount at corner. I don't know like their safety situation, linebackers. I would have to look at their books essentially. I didn't come into today having their payroll ready, but I know during our off-season deep dives, I think that's probably gonna be a series because there's a
oh,
lot
it's
of
going to
teams
have
that
to
are gonna
be.
have some major cuts this off-season.
Yeah, it's going to
Like
have to be.
some, it's especially I've noticed just over the past couple of years, it's like there's more talent coming in rookie wise to the point where a lot of these like kind of big name marquee veterans are getting cut
Yeah.
and a lot of trades and whatnot. So it'll be entertaining. But in terms of what we saw Saturday night, I mean, I basically called it. I knew that there was no way we weren't going to go into next week without our picks tied. I was just curious as
Yeah.
if to the Bengals were going to lose and then or if the Giants were going to lose. And it was the Giants within the first half of the first quarter. Um,
And I do
I
want to say
love what the
before we move on, you would agree the future is bright in Jacksonville. Don't get me wrong.
no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, I think they should keep their heads held up. And really, there's a salary cap issue, but ultimately, this team probably makes playoffs next year. It's
Yeah.
just a measure of we were trying to compare them to contenders and whatnot. But yeah, Giants, Eagles. Look, I called an upset here given the division. All right, that's my excuse. That is my reason as to why I was so
Yeah.
off on a 38-7 final. Um, the Eagles were talented at more talented at every position, I would say, besides running back. But even their running game is probably better collectively than the
Look,
Giants, given their
I do
offensive
want to
line.
say this. I said last week with Jake on, I said, whoever wins this game, in my opinion, is going to the Super Bowl in the NFC. And right now, I'm very confident in that statement. The Eagles, to
Okay.
me,
Yeah.
like you said, Mahomes is unbeatable. That's how I'm starting to feel about the Eagles, man. They are so good, and this is the two best teams in the NFC. That's the like that. We have the four best rosters still left, if you really think about it.
Oh, in terms of yeah, is it the 1 and 2 seeds for everybody? I mean, besides the Bengals, but like in terms of my eyes, I would probably
Uh,
hold them as
yeah.
the number 2 team in the AFC.
Well,
Um,
obviously, I mean they beat the Bills pretty handedly, and we'll
yeah,
get to that. But when you look at
right.
the rosters on paper, uh, preseason, outside of the really the Chiefs, maybe these were the four best, and then it's like, oh, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, right? Like at least I was high on the Eagles preseason. I was. I know you weren't, but
You didn't pick them to win
I
the
picked them to
division.
win the division. Yeah,
You did.
I did. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, man.
I didn't think they were going to be this
Okay.
good, like 15 or 14-3 good,
Yeah,
right? But
that's right.
um, 38-7 divisional win. I just am really struggling to see a route for them to lose this week, and I'm giving away my pick before we get there. But they looked really good, man. They can run the ball. They just win in so many ways.
Yeah. No, and that's the really. I think you kind of said it best in like in terms of winning in many ways. I'm like, yeah, the only position like the Giants were better at was running back, but I'm not going to sit here and say the Giants had a better running game than the
Yeah.
Eagles. Like, as a unit, they go through like three. It's Miles Sanders, then Gainwell's in, then Boston Scott, the giant killer's in. Like, they just go through whoever. And Jalen Hurts, for a guy that, this is a topic for another day, but we might as well touch on it. I think it's funny that Alabama is trying to claim him.
Oh,
You're
dude.
seeing all that
I saw
when
that too.
Nick Saban
Dude.
benched him for Tua. And like
Yeah,
at the time, like I
it's
guess it sort of made sense given like how Tua's draft status panned out in terms of how Jalen Hurts was a second round pick. Like at the time, it was the right decision, but you can't like he's an Oklahoma quarterback.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not
Just like Joe Burrow's not in Ohio. I've seen people do that. Not an Ohio State
he's not
quarterback.
Ohio State.
He's
Yeah,
an
just because he's in
LSU quarterback.
Cincinnati. Yeah, he's an LSU quarterback, right? Like you got rid of this guy. Like don't try and just sweep it under the
Yeah.
rug. You none of
And
they straight up benched him in
I
the
think it's
biggest
worse with
game.
Hurts. I think it's
It is
worse with
way worse
Jalen Hurts
because he
he
was
he
playing
got benched
fine.
in the national championship.
Yeah, like basically disrespected in front of everybody. And now he might be on his way to a Super Bowl. I mean, he's literally a win away. So even if they don't get here this year, personally, any expectation I had for Jalen Hurts has been surpassed. Whether it's a product of the perfect roster and coaching, I don't really care. I mean, it feels like every other week this guy goes for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then a touchdown with like at least 50 yards rushing on the ground. Like he accounts for so much offense, and we talk a lot about Josh Allen being the Bills' running game, but like Jalen
It
Hurts
just
is just part of this offense, like in
correct me if
every single snap.
you can call me out if I'm wrong on this, but does it just not feel like the stars are really aligned for the Eagles to win another Super Bowl? Like it just feels like the way their roster's shaking out, they are the most desperate for it right now because I don't think their window is open next year. Their defense is that old. Like, does that like make sense? Like, it just feels like they're this season they've been so good. They've been the number one team all year. Like, it's just really starting to feel like it's a team of destiny.
I would agree, but the 2007 Patriots, I felt like were the biggest team of
It's
destiny of
it's
all.
not over until it doesn't mean a
You
thing
know what I
without the
mean?
ring, right? Like 73 and
That's
9
why
Warriors, like does not mean a thing.
yeah, I'm
But
basically just kind of seeing where this team could falter.
I'm
And
not saying they're unbeatable. Nobody at this point in the year, everybody's beatable. But
yeah.
they're playing.
So
I
and
don't
this
see a
this is gonna be a
weakness
hot
when I
take,
look at their
man.
roster. I don't see a weakness.
No, absolutely not. Like every position group, you can't really pinpoint and be like, this is what's holding them back because nothing's holding them back. I think how you beat this team is they have to get in a position they have not gotten in all year because their two losses of the three, Jalen Hurts was not present. So I just
Yeah.
personally don't count them when I'm looking at the outlook of the team. They count, but you get where I'm going with this. Their loss was to the Commanders, but they were not a threat offensively. Like it was just the Eagles had a bad game because I don't
Well,
know, it's a
but
couple month long season.
here's the stat: is I'm pretty sure the Commanders had like 3 times as much time as possession as the
Right.
Eagles did in that game, and that's the recipe.
I would agree that the recipe is obviously keeping the ball longer than them because that's the Eagles' game is just methodically picking you apart all the way downfield and getting out to an early start. I'm not saying this is a front runner team, but I also haven't seen them in that situation. And I think if they get in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs or the Bengals, whoever gets there, we both know are offensively like minded. They're going to try and go for 30, 40 points. If they get out to a 14-0 lead right away, I'm curious how the Eagles respond. I'm not saying
Yeah, I
they're
mean
going to panic right
they've
away.
had come from behind wins, but not against a team. Anybody who's left, anybody who says it was like the Texans, if you recall, right, where the
Right.
Texans got up and then they came back from behind, which means something,
Yeah.
right? But it's not.
Yeah,
you
it's like
know,
you make up a score. I'd like to see them go down like multiple scores, getting to the point where like Jalen Hurts has to throw a lot. They're trying to manage clock, and they can't just basically do their regular thing,
yeah,
is what I'm trying to say. If
it's
they
just
just
gonna be
do their
really
game,
hard. Here's the problem: is it's hard to do that because their defense is that good. Like
right, you got 70
that's why
sacks just
look,
rushing four
this sounds a
guys.
little counterintuitive coming from me, but I think if there's a team left that can beat the Eagles, it's the 49ers, and that's because they have the running game capable of doing it. Could
I
Mahomes or
agree.
Burrow beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl by scoring 45 points and throwing for 400 yards? I'm never going to rule that out with those two guys, right? But
Exactly.
I think the more likely way of success would be the Niners
49ers.
doing what they did to the Packers a few years back. I don't think they're going to be that dominant in the run game, but dominate the time of possession, feed Mitchell, feed McCaffrey, do what they do
Mm-hmm.
on offense, and they've got the stingy defense as well. I think these are the two best defenses left. The Bengals
Yep.
are close in that conversation. The Chiefs really are the one that I feel like I'm surprised they made it this far.
That's
Defensively.
fair. Yeah.
Your thoughts on? We'll pivot a little bit. Your thoughts on the Giants, man?
Suit up for next year.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know what's going on with Daniel
futures
Jones.
futures
Again, that's
bright.
going to be probably another conversation for another day. Given the overall performance, I definitely think that probably hurt Danny Dimes a bit, but like it feels like each game in New York, Giants, Jets, both is like under a microscope, like for both their quarterbacks. But I also, and maybe I'm wrong here, is 3,200 yards and 15 touchdowns. I get he threw 5 picks, which is not a lot, but it's not like he's throwing a lot. Like, is that impressive to you? I know he had some rushing numbers, but that doesn't warrant
Uh,
to me a multi-year deal. Like Geno Smith's
I
probably
think
getting
it.
like a
I
three or
think it
4 year
warrants
deal.
a 2 to 3 year extension. I think that's what it
That's
warrants.
what I think, but I don't think he's gonna. I think somebody's gonna offer more. Whether he
Well, it wouldn't
declines it from
shock
the
me.
Giants,
Here's the unique thing about free agency is I don't think that there are many better options this year than Daniel Jones for the Giants specifically, or really if somebody's going to try and scoop him. Like if the Giants, I think my opinion is the Giants are going to resign Daniel Jones. One, because he's already in their system. Two, he's taken steps forward every single year. He had the best year of his career in his contract year. He answered questions. You've had success with him now, playoff success with this guy.
mm,
Um, and I don't know if the Giants aren't going to go sign Tom Brady. They're not going to make a move for Aaron Rodgers, right? Like even
no,
Derek Carr. Like Daniel Jones for them is a much better option than Derek Carr or
yeah.
Matt Ryan or like anybody else or anybody in the draft as well. So I think that it's a low quarterback year. Not a lot of guys are going to be on the move. The Giants aren't even in the market for a guy like Lamar if he's on. So, uh, yeah,
So we're
that's
both in
my.
agreement they're gonna overpay.
I don't know if they overpay. I think it might be pretty accurately paid. I don't know. They
Maybe.
could overpay slightly, but a 2 to 3 year extension, even four, I'd be okay with. And if you
I think he's gonna get 4 or 5.
if you go
I think
four
he's
to
gonna
lower
get
the
paid for
yearly
that.
cap hit, I mean, I'm pulled up their cap situation right now. They got $44 million in space right now going into next year.
Right.
They don't even need to make a move, let alone. I mean, if they get rid of Galladay, there you go.
Yeah, no, it's not like an issue cap wise for them. I'm just in terms of Daniel Jones' value in my head, I think he's probably like a 15 to $20 million at best quarterback right
I could see
now,
him
and
falling in 21 to 25.
but
I
I
agree with
think
your
he's gonna get
assessment of.
30. I think he's gonna
I
get
don't
like,
think. Well, 4 years over 30.
think about it. Like
If it's
Cousins
spread
got
out,
30 million guaranteed, and that was I think 3 or 4 years ago at least. And now we're, obviously inflation and whatnot. I think Daniel Jones is probably going to command that. If the Giants don't do that, I think
let
he'll
me ask
be
you a
like, oh, I'm going to
question.
go get somebody
Let me
else. Yeah.
ask you a question. Dak's a $36 million quarterback. Who would you rather have?
I would recheck that cap number
I
because going into next season, I believe was 49 million. I saw it on ESPN. Yeah. This is like where it may be more because of like it's
we'll get
bad.
to that. We'll
It's
get to that
bad.
discussion because I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Next year he's $49 million cap hit. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
His
So
base salary this year was 31. Bonus of 19 or 18 mil. There's your 49 right there. 31 guaranteed. We'll just roll with that number. Okay. 31 guaranteed for Dak. Would you pay that for Daniel Jones right now? I think I would. I think he's better.
no. No, I don't feel
I
good
think
giving that. I'd rather
I
just
think,
draft the quarterback, man. I'd
but
rather go roll the
that's
dice and
just,
get a Kenny
that's the
Pickett.
thing. That's the thing is there's nobody there unless the
Yeah,
Giants are going
at
to
this
draft
point.
Will Levis,
Well, I'm
Anthony
hearing Will
Richardson.
Levis might go number one now. He's getting the Zach Wilson treatment. So
Don't get me started.
yeah, it's
But
between,
that aids my argument even more. There's nobody there, right? There's no. I don't think there's quarterback depth, right?
if it's between me getting Anthony Richardson late and overpaying, and it depends if it's like, all right, let's look at this. Like 30 million for 3 years, I'm fine. I'm cool. If it's a 5 year, 150 million, and a lot of that's guaranteed, I'm looking at like I could probably
Whoa,
spend that
I think it's
elsewhere. I
uh
just think because Daniel Jones' age, I think there's a couple teams that are going to be desperate. And like you said, if it's not the Colts or Texans, like a lot of these teams are going to be QB starved in terms of the draft this year. Somebody's going to give an offer that doesn't make sense. We see it all the time. And
I
that
think
is
that
just my not concern,
if the
but
Giants can get him for under 30, they should take him.
I think that's a steal, and that's probably as best it's gonna
I
get.
don't
Because
think
I
that
think Geno's
anybody
gonna be north
else.
of 30 million a year. Geno
I think
Smith,
Geno
like
is better. I think that
absolutely. I
Geno
think
is
that's a
better.
deserving contract. I think actually his age is gonna hold him back from getting more than he normally would.
I think I disagree a little bit. I don't think a lot of teams are going to be too willing to pay this guy more
Daniel
than the
Jones?
Giants will be. Yeah, I don't I don't foresee that.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like the Falcons is an interesting name because you look at what they did with Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ritter. I don't know, but I guess I'm not a GM. I don't know what the view is of Daniel Jones. Personally, it's not very high, but yeah, you might be right, man. You might be right. Maybe it is just the Giants. Maybe it's just Dable, but I'm
Yeah, I
seeing
mean,
a
I think the
lot
Giants
of
are really the
just
only team that has high incentive to re-sign this guy because he's their guy. He won them a playoff game.
yeah,
He clearly has taken steps forward. I think we agree 2 to 3 years, maybe four if it's the right price. And yeah, we roll there. We'll figure it out. The real question is Saquon. I
yeah.
really I don't know what they're going to do with that one because if there's any running back that's worthy of getting paid a lot of money, it might be him. But I'm not a fan of paying running backs a lot of money. But they're going to have
Oh, me
it.
either. Even as much as I love Aaron Jones, I think he's gonna be a cut candidate just because of his cap number. He's gonna
Yeah,
go and ball out for somebody else if he gets cut, but it's like you can't pay. He turned down 12 million a year. He's looking for like north of 16.
yeah,
I don't like we were talking about Christian Kirk's contract. Are you going to pay like a running back that kind of money? It doesn't
yeah.
matter who it is unless it's prime AP. But we can move on to Sunday, man. Giants
Yeah.
for losers. All right,
Hey,
we don't need
we'll
to
say
spend too
Giants were
much time.
losers in this game, but way ahead of schedule. Future's also very
Abs-
bright. A lot of
No
cap
doubt, no doubt.
space. Found their coach. They put a great product on the field this year that I really thought they'd win like 3 games. So um,
Yeah.
let's talk about a team that's catching a lot of flack right now from the media. Josh Allen is under fire. And before
Mm.
I go to his defense, I'd like to hear where you stand.
Not gonna shred the guy too much. I'd be concerned though. Well, like Bills kind of doubled down. Like you went and go get Von Miller. You make the
Yeah,
win. Like you made the trades. Like
okay.
and the Chiefs get worse, and now they're still a game ahead of you. They're still bringing it. And even like Diggs, like the turmoil. I'm not saying it's being a trade or anytime soon, but already like you see the frustration of like the Bills possibly becoming the Packers of the 2010s, where they're like every single year they're
Yeah, but the
favored. They're
Packers
gonna
got it
go
done though. They got it done once. So there's a
once
level of difference. Well, I think that Bills fans, given their history, would be very happy if they got it done
just to get it
once.
once.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a very
right.
valid point.
That's very different
I
when
don't
the
know if it's gonna
Packers get it
happen.
done once and their expectation, which ironically we haven't won two in a decade since the '60s, but uh, when a franchise is the Bill, there's just a difference in history, context, man. They would take
Yeah,
that Super Bowl the way the Eagles did, and the Packers,
Absolutely.
we've got a couple of them. So, um, you
That's
know,
fair take.
here's my assessment. Okay, I'm seeing a lot. This is what people do. Okay, overreaction Monday is becoming one of my most biggest pet peeves in sports. Okay, we
That's
get to
valid,
we
yeah.
get to Monday and everybody's like, "Oh, Burrow's better than Mahomes. Oh, he's the best quarterback in the world if he wins this week." Fine, we'll have that discussion in a second. But Josh Allen, why do we put him in our top 5? He's terrible. Can't take care of the ball. Never shows up in the big game. All this stuff.
Yeah, that's
He's
ridiculous.
fringe top 10. Fringe top 10. Maybe 8 or 9. Maybe. Dude, what? Like,
Yeah.
I don't. First off, name 8 guys that are better than. I mean, I'm seeing people actively saying this. Tons of people. Let's go through what happened to the Bills this year. Okay, Josh Allen, in my opinion, is the MVP runner-up. So you can have your debate all you want. Yeah, got sloppy towards the end of the year. You said it best. The Bills took the deal. They took the risk. They did what they needed to. They went out. They got Von Miller because they felt like they needed a big time pass rusher to put him over the edge, right? Well, Von Miller tore his ACL. Okay.
Yep.
Their all pro free safety, Micah Hyde, missed almost the entire season. Okay. That's 2 of their best defenders out for the entire year. They still win 14 games. Now let's go even further into this game and why they just looked horrible, especially defensively. I mean, they were getting blown back. D-line looked horrible. Bengals are getting pushed every single time, right? We'll talk about the offensive struggles next, which I do think happened, and they do need to address. But the real reason the Bills just looked bad on the back half of this year is simply because in this game, they started their 3rd-string free safety after what happened to Damar Hamlin. They finished with their 4th-string free safety. Then in this game, Jordan Poyer exits in the 3rd quarter, and Tre'Davious White exited the game as well on the same play as Jordan Poyer in the 3rd quarter.
And against Bengals, like
they've got a practice
that
squad back there
happen.
covering the Bengals.
Yeah.
They got a practice squad going against Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. I mean, go down the line, right? And then they lost their best pass rusher, Von Miller. The D line is hurting. For a defense that is not stellar on paper from the start of the year, given no Micah Hyde and all this stuff, there's a level of me, a little surprised they got this far. And the reason they got this far, because of Josh Allen. We can debate Burrow and Allen all we want, but if Allen's not 2, he's 3 in my mind. And that's it. That's all I'm moving him.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at like the short list. Okay, 3. I'd actually probably put Hurts.
Okay, we can have that discussion if he wins the thing.
Personally, but because Allen's got his guy, he's got Stephon Diggs. I understand Hurts has got AJ Brown and a better system, but Hurts like has not had turnover problems at all, right? And like it's not. We still like Daniel Jones. It's not that completely difficult to do.
Pumping the brakes on the Hurts hype train. I mean, I created that hype train.
No, you didn't create it. You were ahead of me, but don't say you created it. All
you
right.
Really think
there's people going in, especially in Philly.
I can go back in the
this guy's great.
I had Hurts as the 3rd best quarterback in week 2.
And it was week 3. It was after week 2.
Sorry.
And it was I remember and I was like, no, this is great. But like they did look amazing. And I'm saying before even the season started, there's people like Hurts made it to the playoffs with this roster. He's gonna go off. Like people, you had him as their division winner. People had him winning the Super Bowl this year.
Let me say
They're
this:
dancing right now.
What did the Eagles look like with Gardner Minshew? And just imagine what the Bills would have looked like all year without Josh Allen. And tell me who's more valuable to their team.
It's a toss because I don't know what that question accomplished. The Eagles lost with Gardner Minshew.
Oh, they blew out the Cowboys. What do you mean?
The Eagles?
Yeah.
They lost. Did they not lose to the Cowboys with Gardner Minshew? And they lost to the Saints.
Let me look at their schedule. Hold on. No, they definitely won their first game with Gardner Minshew.
Like they got one, but like I think, yeah, and especially because I don't think the Bills' backup is all that great. And furthermore, is that more a reflection of the Bills roster? Because Bills don't technically have like a running back, but in terms of like throwing the football, they got the downfield weapons for it.
Regardless, I'm not moving Hurts. We don't need to spend. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'm not moving Hurts.
That's fair.
Ahead of Allen unless he wins. We can have the discussion if he wins the Super Bowl.
That's fair, but I think Josh Allen's recklessness should be noted. I'm not saying it's like knocking him down out of the top 10 like some, loons, but like Dak Prescott, we see now what people hold him, like the tier he's held in now, especially after another like turnover prone game in the playoffs.
We'll get to
Right?
that.
Like
Allen
it
is
needs to be like
like
turnovers matter. They're a huge deal.
I
Every
mean, he turned the
interception
ball
is
over one
major.
time in this game. Come
And
on.
that's what I'm saying. Like every interception matters.
I
Like it's a big deal.
here's
Like
my
when you don't
issue
do it
with
at
the
all,
Bills.
like Jalen Hurts, like it helps.
Here's my issue with the Bills and why I think they're in a tough place. Okay. Do I think that their championship window is fully slam shut? No. This
No.
is like the Packers of the 2010s. That's where you're accurate. As long as you have this guy back there, you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Right.
Right.
But this team is, especially being housed in Buffalo, is very different than those old teams of the 90s, right? Where they could give it to Thurman. The 90s teams, no huddle offense, Jim Kelly, but when it came down to it, they could give it to Thurman Thomas and they could grind out these January wins in the snow, beat these teams at home. Why this loss really rubbed me the wrong way? They were the home team. The Bengals came in, ran it down their throats, dominated time of possession. Joe Mixon went for 100 yards, 20 carries. I mean, they just ran it down their throats the whole game.
Yeah.
And that's what this Bills team is not structured to do. They are incapable of just going into pro offense, handing the ball off, and grinding out a playoff win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my concern. We said all year, right? What wins games in January? Running the football. Say what you want about the Chiefs. They can run the football. They find really creative ways to do it, but they can do it. Same thing with the Eagles, one of the best running teams in the league. Niners, one of the best running teams in the league. And in the last 10 weeks, the Bengals, I believe, are first in rushing. So
Yeah.
that's my
No,
concern moving forward with the Bills. Do they have some cap issues, whatnot? They did go all in this year. Yeah, I'm concerned, but I'm not pumping the brakes on Josh Allen as the future. I'm not pumping the brakes as Josh Allen as a top 5 quarterback. I'm not pumping the brakes on Josh Allen being the guy to bring Buffalo his first Super Bowl. I just think that they got some roster issues that they need to figure out and get together, especially defensively. And the bottom line, they got to stay healthy.
Yeah, no, I can't say it any better. And I think the running back thing he just fixed in the draft. This is actually a pretty decent class.
Which is interesting. This is a great receiver, running back class, but they've tried James Cook. Who else?
I never understood Devin
Zach
Singletary.
Moss,
A
Devin
guy that's
Singletary.
5'7" and is not like electric fast. I'm not really sure what that's really going to accomplish for you. But James Cook might be decent, next season.
No, I think
And I'm really hoping they draft somebody.
Yeah,
I really do.
and we'll pivot to the Bengals in a second. But my big issue with the Bills is a philosophical issue where they're just not willing and they are incapable of handing the ball off and running the football when it matters and getting a push and the 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You need it in January.
Yeah,
you need that ability. But how about the Bengals, man?
No doubt.
Where are you at on Cincinnati right now?
Everything makes sense for them to get to the Super Bowl, which I think is why they won't. As stupid and as weird as that sounds. I like what they did against the Bills. I like what they did against the Ravens. But ultimately, I think they put up 24 in consecutive weeks. Not saying that's bad, but I also note that the Chiefs put up 24 with an injured and at times was out of the game, Patrick Mahomes. I understand a lot of bulletin board materials going to the Chiefs' way as well, but between the Burrowhead comments with Joe Burrow being 3-0 and the regular season in Arrowhead. And look, we talk all the time about how it's hard to beat a team 3 times, which the Eagles, they did that feat. It's not even really logical because in terms of roster makeup, the Bengals are probably better, but I think I just hold Mahomes in higher regard. As clutch as Burrow is, Mahomes can do stuff we've seen it against the Bills, 13 seconds. He literally does magic. So as cold and as surefire as Burrow is pretty much every week, it is very hard for me to pick against Mahomes, and that's why I'm still riding with the Chiefs as my Super Bowl pick. Said at the beginning of the year, I'm gonna hold true to the fort. Um, but yeah, it's hard to really nitpick what the Bengals did against the Bills. I mean, defensively, you couldn't have asked for a better performance. Offensively, they did, plenty of enough. And it's like, yeah, they got 24, but they probably could have gotten more if they didn't go the typical running the ball route. That's not always their MO. But the fact they're able to do that, and we already know what they can do in the pass game, it's really tough for me to find something I like, man. I'm gonna be honest. It's more of just like, well, I like Mahomes and Chiefs more.
Yeah,
That's really all I could say.
that's fair. That's extremely
What's their problem right now? When you look at Bengals, like
fair.
what's bad?
Nothing, because
I
their
don't have
defense is
anything.
playing incredible, and that would be the one
Yeah.
thing that I would point at. Look, the Bengals, man, this I, I I haven't been this excited for a championship. I'm always excited for championship Sunday, but man, this Bengals Chiefs game, I'm leaping out
It's
of
gonna
my
be
chair,
great.
right, every time I think about this, because this is on both sides one of the bigger legacy games we've seen in a long time. I mean, I'm thinking like '06 AFC Championship, Manning and Brady. Like, that's
Hmm.
where my head is at
Big
right
deal.
now. This is Mahomes. Are you going to go 0-4 against Joe Burrow? And then Burrow, are you going to get back to the Super Bowl? Right. I think Mahomes has more to lose than Burrow at this point. But Burrow's that he has that underdog mentality where it's like he just
Doesn't
owns.
matter.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. He's oh, you guys think Mahomes is the favorite? Chiefs are you know, I don't care. Bengals by 50, right? What's that meme like where he's like smoking the cigar and the hat's on
Yeah.
silent?
Yeah.
That's like he defines that. So we can move on. We'll come back. We'll touch on Bills or Bengals Chiefs here when we come back for our predictions. But one final Saturday or Sunday game to recap: Cowboys Niners. Man, uh, you know Dallas. What happened? Give me your thoughts.
I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on this because this is literally this is an age old tale. I mean, if you want to just you could probably roll back 10 years and find similar thoughts on Tony Romo and turnover problems in the playoffs. Um, just the Cowboys being the Cowboys, like this was so typical, even the way the game ended. Uh, yeah, I
They just
I
found a
think
way.
this like is and this really means something when we talked a lot about the Eagles and Giants, and that game was a blowout. And basically, when I think of this game, it's like no comment because
Because it was close the whole game, and you were just like, the Niners, they're gonna.
you just knew. Yeah, you just knew the Niners would win. You knew the Cowboys wouldn't do it. And then Meyer missed another extra point. I was like, you know what? I got nothing to say. I got nothing to say. And even you talk about teams not in good shape next year. Yeah, you can look right there. Paying a guy almost $50 million, that isn't worth it. You got to figure out what you're going to do with Pollard and Zeke. You got to figure out what you do with the rest of the defense. They have so many problems.
Dude, I
It's
got I
almost kind
got
of
a stat for
exciting
you.
to see.
You might know this, but Dak Prescott played 12 games this season, I believe.
Yeah,
Those games early in the year. Yeah, he led the league in interceptions.
I brought that up. He was tied with Carr. He was tied with Carr for most picks like a couple weeks back, and I'm
Yeah,
like, didn't he play like a lot less games? Um,
yeah.
I just wow, man, that is really bad considering how much they've invested in him. Even worse that I think it's kind of I mean, it's common knowledge Tony Pollard is a better running back than Zeke, and yet Zeke is getting paid what really you'd like to give to Tony Pollard, but you're not going to be able to because you're paying Zeke. And then it goes into, well, Kellen Moore is getting interviews now. And defensively, I don't know what their exact, cap number is next season. Guarantee you they're probably over right now. Uh,
So
yeah,
here's the thing with the
typical.
Cowboys too is I don't think the window like the championship window wasn't open, but the playoff window I don't think it's slammed shut next year either. Like they
No.
have a good enough defense the defense is incredible, right? But
They always look like a contender. I think they're always going to be like a playoff contender. I think their championship window is just shut because they're the Cowboys. And like until I see some uncowboy things, that's just going to be like my just thought. That
yeah,
window is going to be closed until they get typical Cowboys guys out of there. If Joe Burrow was playing for the Cowboys right now, I'd feel differently. But like Dak Prescott just feels like a more athletic Tony Romo.
yeah, that's the reality is they've never really had a that top five guy at quarterback. It's always like that 5 to 12, 5 to 10 range
Yeah,
guy.
like
You
you can
try
make a
and build a.
case,
It's
but
like, well, given the circumstance, probably your best option, right? Like, yeah,
oh yeah,
Romo's he's solid, right? Are we gonna find anything better in free agency? No, but you just at some point, man, I think you got to bite the bullet and try and hit on a guy in the first round.
right.
And
Yeah.
try and find find a legacy like superstar, all time talent, a Mahomes, a Burrow, a Rodgers, a Brady. Well, Brady was a Manning. Like find a top five quarterback in the draft because you're not going to find him free agency, and Dex, he's not that guy, pal. But
Yeah.
how about Brock Purdy, man? Any thoughts? Going to undefeated still.
No, yeah, in terms of like what needs to be said. I don't have any
I don't
things
have
that
anything to add
have
from last
yeah,
week.
exactly. Like he's just doing his thing. Typical 49ers win. Excited to see what they got going on next week. I think really it's this team's in a fantastic spot. Is
Yeah,
it's like you put a lot of capital into Trey Lance, but it's like if he doesn't work out, you have Purdy, and if you don't want to give him a go, you still have Purdy and so much talent around him. This team is, I think, of championship windows. It's going to be open for a good while,
yeah,
in my eyes.
yeah.
So
All right. So
kudos to
what?
them.
What? So that takes us to this coming Sunday. Our predictions for the future, and we'll start with the AFC. I know you're riding with the Chiefs, but go ahead. Your pick and why for the AFC Championship game.
I already, basically made it. It's Mahomes is going to get there because he's Mahomes. I think it really showed a lot of just eyes were open in the sense that they lost Tyreek Hill and are in the same position. Uh, I
Very
believe,
fair.
you know, yes, they have home field advantage. Yes, it's like Burrowhead, but like the Chiefs in the playoffs at home have been historically great. So I'm just not going to bet against that. And I think the Bengals have been hot for so long. It's I said it earlier and I'll say it again. It's everything is going right for the Bengals. It doesn't make sense for them to get to the Super Bowl because that's just how the NFL works. They made it last year because they got hot at the end and they've been hot for like almost 3 months now. Like eventually they're gonna have a bad game to the fault of no one, just the way the football rolls. And again, I'm interested to hear what your take is on the whole thing. But I'm gonna go with the Chiefs all the way. Sticking with the preseason pick, man.
Respectable. I mean, we've made it this far.
Yeah, I gotta
My
roll with
my
it.
two Super Bowl picks didn't even make the playoffs. So, yeah, there's something to learn
Who's
from
that?
next year. Yeah. Um, you know, um, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bengals, man. Partially, and I will admit, I'm 50-50. So part of the pick is, to
I think all of these matches are 50-50.
yeah,
It's
that's
so
part of it.
tough.
But I do think, I mean, look, I'm very confident in the Bengals. They're 3-0 at Arrowhead. They have an answer, a formula that nobody else has been able to have. They're the only people that do this. So to
Yeah.
bet on them doing it again, I'm more confident in them to win in Arrowhead than anybody else. And they just got this like underdog, like win road playoff games like I've never seen anybody else ever do before mentality, right? Like they go into
Yeah.
Buffalo, blow them out, right? Go into Tennessee, beat them at the end. Go into, beat a well, they had a home game against the Ravens, but grind out a close game against the divisional. They're so good in big games. And look, if they're going to get it done, they got to do it while these guys are all on the rookie contract. And we'll get into what I think when we get to the NFC because I think we could be looking at a back-to-back Super Bowl loser here. So
Mm.
I'll get a little ahead of myself, but I've got Bengals Eagles right now, and I have to go Eagles in that game. And we could be looking at Jim Kelly, which is ironic, right? Like the guy who gets it done in the big games can't get it done in the biggest game. That'll be the storyline. That's my prediction. Okay. Similar
Yeah.
vein as you, where everything's going right for them to win the Super Bowl, but they're not going to do it. But there are stats going against me too. You know, I think I've said this before. The last like however many guys to go to their first Super Bowl and lose, never make it back. So I would not be shocked if the Chiefs win this game because I think they've got more to lose than the Bengals do, if that
Mm.
makes sense. But I
No,
think the Bengals
that's
defense is better, and that's ultimately where my pick resides. The Bengals defense is playing a lot better, and they have a formula to keep the Chiefs around 20 in the 20s of points, and they've outscored them every other time. So takes us to the NFC. I feel like I've made my pick pretty clear here. I'm going with the Eagles. I've said why I think that the Purdy
Mhm.
hype train ends here. I saw a stat. He was 4-21 in college, 4-12 or 4-21. I can't remember in college on the road at Ohio State or when he played at Iowa State. This is his first road playoff game. I know that's a really cherry pick stat, but I'm using it.
Yeah. Iowa
Um,
State didn't have Debo, CMC, and Kittle playing.
very
That's
fair,
the
but
difference.
I think that this will be the best defense he's played all year, and this will be the best defense that Jalen Hurts has played all year. And with that in mind, I think I got to lean with the Eagles simply because I think that their offense is somehow better. They're better in one position, and I think that puts them on the edge.
Well, I'm just going to take what you said earlier. If any team was going to beat the Eagles this year, it's going to be the 49ers.
Oh my gosh,
And
we're gonna split.
we're going to split again. Yeah. And I'm like,
I
in my mind, I'm like, I just stick with the Eagles. Like, it's not my pick, just so that in the Super Bowl, like, it makes sense. But no, I know we're going to split. There's no way that one of us gets this completely right. And it really just kind of boils down to this. We've talked a lot about the rosters. Personally, I love Kyle Shanahan way more, and Sirianni has done a good job. I'm not going to take that away from him. But Kyle Shanahan has so much playoff experience, whether it's coaching under his dad, whether it's losing with the Falcons, like knowing what not to do in the Super Bowl.
Well,
And then with Jimmy
did he
G with the
really lose
49ers
his
in the
lesson?
Super Bowl.
Did he really lose?
I think he did because of the way the 49ers have been playing and beating teams. I really think he did. And in terms of faith in coaches, I'm going to roll with Kyle Shanahan over Nick Sirianni all day, every day. And the Giants pick I was picking because it was division, but I knew the talent was not there. The 49ers have a better defense. That is a fact. Offensively, it's very comparable. Eagles definitely have better numbers, but in terms of personnel, the quarterback position is really the tipping point. And so it basically kind of comes down to if Hurts doesn't have one of his monster days, which I've been saying is every other week. Well, last week he had a monster day. I think I know that the Brock Purdy hype train, I don't want to say it's all him. Obviously, it continues if he wins. I think it gets shut down against Kansas City. And that's basically where I'm going with this. I think it's going to be a Super Bowl rematch because we see those occasionally with the Giants, and the Patriots. I think it's me Chiefs Niners again, and I think the Chiefs win again.
And Mahomes grabs
But
number two, and we'll have
I
this
think
discussion
Mahomes
in the
gets number
offseason.
two.
I'm excited to talk about, especially if Mahomes does grab number two, because I really think that the
Already
perception.
legacy wise, he's up there like the top 5 QBs ever.
Yes,
If he gets number two.
because people's perception of Super Bowls is so skewed by Tom Brady, and it makes me so
Yeah,
mad. Like, dude, you know how hard it is to win one, right? Like you see
it's so
people.
hard.
I made a TikTok about this. Colin Cowherd's like, would you rather have Eli Manning's career or Aaron Rodgers? Right? He got it
Yeah,
done more in the big game, and it's like, what are we talking about? Like, it's not like
yeah,
Rodgers is Marino who doesn't have a Super Bowl. And I brought up Breeze too because it's like these guys are clearly better all time. And I wanted like
yeah.
non-Packers bias to be in it. That's why I brought up Breeze. They're clearly
Right.
better all time than Eli Manning. So the two Super Bowl club is very legit, and Mahomes is not Eli Manning. That's where I'm getting at it. So if he gets number
Exactly. It
two,
puts him leaps
or
ahead of a
even
lot of
or
guys.
or even if somebody grabs number one, like if Burrow grabs number one, it's like
Hmm.
okay, like
Big deal.
now it's on, right? Big deal. If Hurts takes that, if he's going to take that step, he grabs number one.
Huge deal.
Huge
Monster deal in my
The
eyes. Yeah.
really the worst case scenario I think is if Brock Purdy grabs number one, because I don't think we see a legacy stat, a legacy, unless we have the next Brady on our hands.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for those of you who are new or haven't caught up, we have been tallying our picks on every single game for the entire season. We are tied through the divisional round at 168 and 113. We both went 3-1 last week, so that took us to 168, 113. We were tied the week before. We've been tied since the playoffs started, which is crazy to think about. So if somebody sweeps this week, it's over. It is over. No matter what happens in the Super Bowl, it is over. We'll be playing for all-time numbers, I guess, which will start to stack over the years. But it will be over. But the other season-long contest we've done is Fantasy Frenzy, which is a week-long or a week-to-week fantasy contest where we draft players in each team, each draft a fantasy team each week and feel the roster. During the regular season, if a player was taken the week before, we couldn't take them. That's not the case in the playoffs. We can take anybody available because there's only 4 teams left, so it gets a little dicey. But Christian has a 10-6 head-to-head lead on me. He has 2,118 total points after last week, and I have 2,050. But I did get the win last week. I had 133.5. You had 106.4. And Jake, who drafted from our scraps, at 112 and a half points and beat you, which I found just
Gano let me down, man. Graham Gano is usually solid for like 9.
He did let
me down.
I got you know what? No.
I'm tipping my head to Jake though. If you draft from we literally picked our entire rosters, and then he still beat me with like the leftovers.
And
I gotta give credit there.
Jake went 4-0
in the picks
on his game picks. He had the Eagles and the Bengals, and the Niners and the Chiefs. So shout out Jake. I know he's listening to the show. Yeah, showed us.
That's a good call, man. It's really good call.
Go 4-0 in a division. He should have ran a parlay, but. Shout out. Did you see the guy? Did you see the guy who parlayed all of the first touchdown scorers?
And he got it. He got them.
Yeah, all. He put $5 down and won $70K. He got all the first touchdown scorers. Here's the crazy part is this sounds like SpongeBob, but I know a guy who knows that guy.
Yeah. You know a guy who knows that guy who knows that guy.
Yeah, except it's just one. I know a guy who knew that guy. So,
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. I guess we can just heat right into it. Not going to lie, I got the little battery alert on my device here. So
you do get the first pick. Loser gets first pick. So,
all right. Yeah. Loser. I'll go with Travis Kelce. It's the staple of what we've done all year long. Yeah,
I figured you would. And this is where things get a little interesting. I don't know where I want to go. You know what? Yeah, I do. I'll take Christian McCaffrey. I won't
lock in the running back.
Yeah.
No knock on that. Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1. Yes, please. I think that's gonna be a shootout over in Arrowhead.
Yeah, that's fairly solid take. Let me think about this.
It's gonna start to fall off fast, man.
Oh, it's looking at my guy.
It falls off really quick here.
This is interesting because I have. All right, yeah, I'll go AJ Brown. I'll grab the other wide receiver, the big name who's available right now. You got a smile on your face. So who you grabbing?
I just appreciate you leaving me a running back. I'll take Joe Mixon.
I thought about it, but
scared of me running back starved. But nice.
I would have been receiver starved. I would have been receiver starved. So that was the problem. I'm gonna take George Kittle here. I think that is a necessary thing to gatekeep from you because it worked for me last week. So.
You really you thought I was gonna take that little dual tight
end
strat.
It worked for me last.
It does. No, I got glad you took it off the board. Yeah, no, it narrows things down for me. I'll grab my wide receiver 2 here in Devontae Smith.
Yeah, that's I thought about taking him before Brown.
I know.
I
As
was
weird as it
really
sounds,
close to
in the
getting
playoffs, it seems like, especially, they're going to key in a bit on AJ Brown. But
really, yeah,
Devontae Smith is an amazing wide receiver too. He really should be a wide receiver one on a lot of other teams. So
yeah. That's very fair. Hmm, this is where things get it's falling off. Yeah, I guess the smart pick here is T Higgins. Before we dive into the scalping running backs, so T Higgins, wide receiver two.
flex or a running back. Yeah, no, I'm gonna get Debo in my flex. I'll take a
I
chance with the running backs and just hope that my receivers go off. That's I feel like
See,
as
here's the
best of a wide receiver room I can get
all right.
going into this.
I'm going boomer bust at RB two. I'm taking Jared McKinnon.
This is problematic. This is
I
already
took the
problematic.
safe play last week on Miles Sanders, and it did not pan out very well for me. So I'll take the risky play and hope it does this week.
Yeah, considering I don't love anything I've got for me right now, I'll just lock out Jalen Hurts, get my quarterback off the board, and I'll keep pacing on my running back.
That's very
Good grief.
interesting. Okay, the flex. I'm between Brandon Ayuk because you can't get another receiver, and
Valid.
well, you can't get an, or Dallas Goddard, who had a solid week last week for Jake actually, which was
Hmm.
or no, he had Hayden Hurst, but Goddard had a solid week last week. Hurst had a good week too. That's what really helped Jake get 17 out of him. But for the flex, I think we got to duel out the Niners receivers here. Ayuk's been having this pretty solid run. I'll take Brandon Ayuk.
All right, I've decided on Miles Sanders. I'm probably gonna get burned, but hopefully he just vultures the
I don't
touchdown.
know
But
if there's a
honestly, it's
much
probably
better
gonna be,
unless you're gonna take like, oh dude, I
dude. A
just
weird part of me was like, maybe I should take Boston Scott. So let it be known if he
no
goes off.
dude.
I called it,
Oh,
but
I should have taken Isaiah Pacheco in my flex. Dang.
oh, it just completely locked me out. That was who I was debating between. But I have a feeling McKinnon's actually going to go off and Pacheco's going to eat me nothing. So,
All right. So this guy
um,
was big time for me last week, and I think he will be again this week. I'm taking the guy who's never missed a kick in his playoff career. Give me Robbie Gold, baby. He got me 16 big ones last week.
wow, 16. Yeah. That guy is a living legend at the position. I'm going to take his defense. Go with 49ers defense here. Double down on my word that Niners advance to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then for my defense, oh man, I'm between the Eagles and Cincinnati, and I don't like either of them. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll with the Eagles based on the idea. I think they're gonna get me a couple sacks. Hopefully, turn the rookie over. Doesn't turn it over a lot, but it's better than going against Mahomes at home. So
Evan Money McPherson, even though he's gonna be kicking a
yeah,
lot of field goals that aren't gonna be worth a whole lot because Chiefs are gonna win the game. But yeah, no, if they're settling for field goals, that's good. So again, I'll double down on my not post game, pre-game. You get the idea.
so
Predictions.
I could double down on my AFC Championship prediction at quarterback, or I could hedge it. Burrow or Mahomes. Um, yeah, I really don't know. This to me is a complete coin toss, but I gotta go Burrow. He seems to be really just for the reason of doubling down on my AFC Championship. I think they're going to win, and they're not going to win unless Burrow plays good. So yeah, I'm going to roll with Joe Shiesty, Joe Cool in the AFC Championship. This got dicey really, really quick. I definitely had to go off my own script. So, um, but I have Burrow, McCaffrey, McKinnon, Brown, Higgins, Kittle, Ayuk, Gold, and Philly. And you have Hurts, Mixon, Sanders, Chase, Smith, Kelsey, Samuel, McPherson, and the Niners defense. Um, Probably could have grabbed Joe Mixon, but I don't know. I just got to. Sometimes you just get that feeling, man. Sometimes you just get that feeling.
Yeah, more
But
power to him.
we'll close it out with a little bit of who he played for. So I'll let you go first. For those of you that are new, we basically name the teams that these players played for, and we try to guess. So Balls in your court, or do you want me to go first?
Oh,
Or how many
yeah,
how many guys do you have?
I got two.
All right, I'll go first. I got three.
Okay.
I'll go first. Um, let me pull up his football reference page. All right. I tried to. Well, okay. So this guy, and by rule, I have to tell you offense or defense. This guy plays defense, still currently in the league. Um, Originally drafted by the New Orleans Saints. He then spent time with the Patriots, then spent time with the Bears, and then this season played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I want to say it's Akeem Hicks.
Is that your guess?
Can I hear the teams again in order?
Yep. Saints, Patriots, Bears, Buccaneers.
The Hicks thing checks out. It really does. I'm going to go with Akeem Hicks.
Yeah. Dang it. Dude, I felt so good about that.
That's a great one. Yeah, it's
because I felt like the Patriots are going to throw you off, man. Didn't even spend a full season there.
Yeah, no, for some reason, man. Just don't lie. Some of these linemen just they leave an impression.
Shout out Laquan Treadwell, man. I'll never live up to that.
Yeah, the stumper, dude. I still, even that career path, I don't remember. But offense is my first guy. He was drafted in 2014 by the Miami Dolphins. He spent 4 years with the Dolphins. And then in 2018, he
what year was he drafted? Sorry.
2014.
2014 Dolphins. Okay.
Right. So he spent his first 4 years there. Then from 2018 to 2021, he was with the Browns for another 4 years. And now he currently resides with the Saints. That's where he played last year. Or this year. I'm sorry.
Jarvis Landry.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought
all right.
Career path be a little dicey, but okay. Word.
All right. I've got one here. This guy was originally drafted by the Chicago Bears. He then spent time with the New York Giants and currently plays for the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay, so I heard Bears, and what was the second team?
Bears, Giants, 49ers.
Bears, Giants, 49ers, and he was on offense?
Defense, technically.
Defensively? Technically, that's an interesting one. Bears, Giants, 49ers. It's not Gibson. I'd really be shocked. This is gonna be
he has spent. I'll give you a hint too. He has played both offense and defense.
What in the world? What are you nuts? Bears. It's got to be like a practice squad guy or like somebody that got.
You've definitely heard of this guy. Originally drafted in 2005 by the Bears. He went to the Giants in 2016, and he's been with the Niners ever since 2017.
2005. He's on defense. He's been peeled over. I mean, it's probably like a fullback, D lineman deal. I just don't know who it is.
I say he's played both. He's best known as a special teamer. That's why it's. Well, I didn't really know how to answer that question. So for offense or defense,
Either 2005. Wait. So are you saying he's on special teams? Because that's like a third part of the ball.
He is best known.
Because now I'm thinking it's Robbie Gould, like he just pulled a kicker on me. Which you can't say he's on defense. Come on.
I didn't know what to say.
Robbie Gould isn't tackling anybody. You just say special teams. We're going for we haven't had that.
You know that would have given.
Yeah, but no kicker is an offense or defensive player. Same thing with punter.
That's why I didn't know what to say, so I said both.
So you should. Gee. I'm glad I still got it. But I was like, what dude is still kicking it? 2005. Yeah, Robbie Gould. Okay.
I just felt like I didn't remember him on the Giants, man. That was the main. the main loop there. So shout out to anybody if they got that before I said it was a special team. So
That's that's a fair take. Fair take. All right. You know what? I'm changing my guy. I don't like him. I got another guy in mind. The first one was too easy, so I got to go a little bit harder.
oh, this is
Sorry, can't let you get 2 wins. This guy was drafted by the Giants in 2015,
okay.
defensive side of the ball.
Oh god.
He spent time there, and then in 2019 went to the well, I guess at the time Redskins, but currently the Commanders. He spent a couple years there, and this season wound up back with the Giants.
God, the only guy I can think of who would have been drafted around that time. I don't know if he played for the Commanders though. I think he did. I, I guess I'm gonna guess Landon Collins.
No, like no other hints or anything. You're just gonna go with that.
I mean, Landon Collins comes to mind. It's going to take a lot for me to not guess him. There was a
You sure he didn't play
Giants.
for another team
I no, I'm not sure
like
if he did.
Philly?
Did Landon Collins play for Philly? Like um, the other guy, what was that cornerback's name? Who was fairly decent with the Giants. Keep thinking of Desmond Trufant, but that was the Falcons, so I know it's not him. Back in those 2010s days, defender with the Giants. Man, I don't. Hmm. So I don't know if I can name anybody on their defense right now because they're so poor. Besides Kayvon Thibodeau, but he's a rookie. Uh,
That's valid.
or Julian Love, but he was drafted by the Giants. So, um, yeah, I guess I'll guess Landon Collins. You made me feel pretty inconfident in that. So,
Yeah, that was the goal. Because I never ruled him out because it was Landon
that's
Collins.
good. You suck. You suck so much.
I
He just
know,
throws
man.
out. He throws out Philly. He was like, "Oh, dude, he totally plays for Philly. Like, what are you talking about?" Like, just,
Oh, okay. So what would have been easier though? There's a guy that was drafted in 2014. He was with the Rams, and in 2019, he I believe went to the Bears, and for a couple seasons he was with Bears, and then now midway through this season he got traded to the Eagles.
oh, it's Robert Quinn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
You
I
know
had to
what's
think of
crazy
somebody
too?
else.
What's crazy too is I was gonna say Robert Quinn for you, and then I looked at his thing and I was like, "This is way too easy."
It seems
No,
so easy. That trade kind of threw a wrench in it. I was like, his career path's kind of interesting, and then it really wasn't. But
yeah.
no,
All
I'll
right,
hear you out on this last
one
one here.
more
Yeah.
for you. This is a defender. Um, played on some. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say that. I don't give you any benefit of the doubt now. But originally drafted by the Detroit Lions, he then spent time with the Miami Dolphins. He then was with the Los Angeles Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and
You really picked Ndamukong Suh. He was my other guy. I was like, man.
gosh, uh,
Oh, yeah. No, the Lions, honestly, Lions Dolphins career path was like to our era. Like, he was
that's
so
true.
prominent with the Lions. Then the
That's
Dolphins
true.
deal was a mega
He
deal.
kind of
Like,
like bounced around. I don't remember him on the Rams too when they went to the Super
I
Bowl. I don't remember
either.
that.
Yeah.
And then Tampa, I remember he spent 3 years there, and then I was like, oh, I didn't really know he was in Philly until like a week or two ago because he's kind of had a
Yeah.
quiet season. But
Right. They were just adding beef in the middle.
yeah,
We'll have to
yeah,
start pulling harder names, man. I
yeah.
started like try and make it a little bit easier to for like viewership's sake, but we might have went a little too easy this week.
I might have.
Did
Let
any
me
of us
pull.
get one wrong?
No,
Yeah, that's
that's
a sign. We got to make some
no. That's a
changes.
sign we're getting better, man. That's a sign we're getting better,
No, I need to
dude.
go looking for some backups.
I just thought of a career. I was like, oh, who's a career backup like special teamer? And I was like, oh, Matthew Slater. I wonder what his career path is. No, he's only played for the
Patriots.
Patriots
Yeah.
for since 2008.
I would say basically just run 2008, then with this team.
That's
Start
crazy.
guessing pads, bro. Like
Bro's collecting rings on the special teams.
Respect. He's got so many more rings than so many
10,
prominent quarterbacks.
10 Pro Bowls. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. What a stud.
Legendary
What
special
a
teamer.
what that is the definition of a legendary special teamer. We're gonna sprinkle in kickers. We're gonna have to start sprinkling in other special teamers too. That's the problem. But all right.
Sure. Sure.
Any closing thoughts before we close up shop?
No, honestly, I'm all good to go. I'm really excited for this upcoming, conference championship matchups.
The best Sunday of the
In
year.
terms of
This one
yeah. Next week, I don't really know what we're gonna do though. Pro Bowl. We'll have to
we
get
can
back to you guys on
we can do
that.
some NBA and then we can slander this flag football. Because why not?
Yeah, maybe just crap on it real quick. But no,
I'm not doing a game pick for the Pro Bowl
I'm
flag
not either,
football
bro.
game.
I'm not deep diving the Pro Bowl. I draw lines. All right. I
I
know I'm
do.
obsessed with
Hey,
football, but
I'd be willing to draw the lines or deep dive the Pro Bowl dodgeball game, maybe. But no, I'm kidding. All
oh
right.
gee.
Thanks again for listening, guys. We'll be back for our reaction next week. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the whole shebang. Pushing out a lot of content on TikTok so far. So a lot of unique takes, things you don't hear on here, shorter bits. We're talking about Kobe's legacy this week. We talked about Josh Allen, like I said, a couple other things. So be sure to check us out there. And yeah, thanks for listening. Catch you guys next week.
Take care.